Scheduling tasks in Linux is really easy. The only difficult part really is just getting used to the way that the timing is configured. But outside of that, it's literally just grabbing all these commands we've been putting inside of terminal, put inside of a folder, set a timer, and that's it. So let's jump into it. The tool we need to schedule tasks is called crontab. So quick what is on crontab will let you know that it maintains the crontab files for individual users. And this is a tool that we use to provide information for the cron utility, kind of like the systemd manager was the service manager and system control interacted with it. The crontab, very similarly, is a tool we can use to interact with the cron utility that handles scheduled tasks. So let's hop on the man page and just check it out really quickly. We can see that it interacts with the cron daemon, actually. And we mentioned that in the previous video, talking about daemons and services. And crontab is actually short for cron table. And if you haven't picked up yet, cron is for chronological, as in events happening in the passage of time. The crontab utility is edited with an editor, so we're actually going to use a new command called select editor. And this will allow us to choose one of several editors that are built inside of the system. We'll stick with nano, that's what we're used to. And now to edit the crontab, we just have to write crontab tac e for edit. So this is the cron table or the crontab for our user. Notice how all these entries have a little hashtag or pound in front, and that indicates a comment, so that shouldn't be interpreted. And to set a scheduled task, we just have to use a form of asterisks. These asterisks represent values for minute, hour, day of month, month, and day of week, respectively. Once we figure out the calculation of what we want, then we would just enter in some commands at the end. And that's really it. Based on whatever value we put, some commands here where I'm writing will actually just run at that given time. Now the default value, if we just put asterisks, something will run every minute. So to demonstrate this, let's go ahead and use a command like echo, and we're going to continuously echo the words hello world with an exclamation mark into and append the file under /home/ubuntu hello world count.txt. And now let's save the file and we're good to go. So all we need to do now is just wait. I'm going to run the date command, and date lets us know the current timestamp. And I'm going to get up and stretch my legs, and then I'll come back after and see what happened. Okay, back now. I'm going to run date again, and this has been just a little over a minute around here. And if we go inside and check this file that we've been appending that hello world to, we should see it inside there. And there it is. Awesome. And that's a scheduled task. It might seem simple, but a minute passed by, it ran our crontab command, and let's just verify that it's going to do it again. We'll run an ls tacal on it just to make sure that we can see it's 15:12. And now I'm going to wait a little bit longer, run the date command again, just to see that time has actually passed. We've hit the next minute mark, and let's just check to make sure. Perfect. So it is actually appending to the file. Pretty simple, right? So there's another tac option of crontab tac-l, and this actually lists out our crontab. And this is handy so we don't have to always go and edit it. We can just see what are the current scheduled tasks of a given user. And right there in the line, we can see it. That's our scheduled crontab task. Okay, so now let's say we want to delete that crontab task. Well, we can run crontab tac-r, and that completely wipes it. So if we do crontab tac-l, you can see now nothing inside. Or we could have ran back inside with crontab tac-e and just deleted it manually. So a couple different ways to do it. All right, so let's move on to working with timings. I'm going to remove that file first, don't want it anymore. And then I'm going to introduce you to a wonderful website. It's basically a crontab calculator. It's called crontab.guru. So I'm going to open up my Firefox browser now and take us there and walk us through that website. And this is crontab.guru. So you can see over here, it's just a really nice way to get formatted timings for you. And they have a bunch of examples, like every minute, every 2 minutes, every 5 minutes. There's lots of examples for us to use. So why don't we maybe check out every hour? If we go ahead and click that right now, we're going to see that at minute 0, that's technically the Linux way of thinking every hour. So again, like I said, a little confusing. Let's take a look at another one over here. Maybe every day at 8 a.m. So at minute 0, at hour 8, again, Very confusing at first. That's fine. That's why crontab.guru exists, to make this easier. So let's actually walk through a use case, and let's make a scheduled task to perform a backup of our directory. And let's put that backup inside of the var backups folder, which is normally protected. We can't access that from Ubuntu. So we're going to have to put this scheduled task under the root user. And that's fairly common. You're going to have scheduled tasks being ran as the root user, kind of like in Windows as the system or an administrator account. So let's run that su command, but let's just put sudo in front, which runs it as root. And we don't need anything after. It'll actually drop us right to root. And we have a default permission where we can actually run sudo without password. Okay, so let's think about this. First, we'll need a backup folder inside of the var backups folder itself, and that will house all of our backups. So let's go and do that. Make directory, var backups, Ubuntu home backup. Perfect. And now let's go inside of our cron tab. And I'm actually going to highlight and copy that line. So that's a little bit easier for me to paste inside of it afterwards. And let's just, for test purposes, get this up and running where we can run the script every minute. I'm just going to paste that directory location right now, just so I don't lose it off the clipboard. And then I'm going to go over to crontab guru, and let's just get the timing for every minute, which we know already is all asterisks, but just for demonstration purposes, I'll click on that. Then I know, perfect, every minute I'm going to copy this. And then let's go to the beginning of the line. Let's paste all the asterisks. And now we're just going to run a copy command of /home Ubuntu and copy everything. And there's that wildcard asterisk character, right? We talked about that where it copies anything. It represents any character. Now we need another flag here of tac A. And this is a special flag to throw in when you're doing a full copy somewhere else. Tac A, after the copy, is actually for archive mode. And it's pretty powerful because what it does is it maintains the file permissions, ownership, timestamps, and general other metadata associated with the files. So now we have a good backup statement over here. Let's actually run it and see what happens. All right, I'm just going to check that folder and make sure that there's nothing in it right now, and then I'm going to wait and come back. And after I confirm nothing's there, I'm just going to go ahead and run the date command, pause the recording, grab a coffee, come back, and see what happened. Okay, so back, date, a couple minutes in, let's check the folder, and awesome, everything's there. Super simple. We have a full running backup of our home directory so we don't lose our data. And okay, backing up every minute seems unreasonable. Let's grab a new one at crontab guru, and let's grab something like maybe every 12 hours. That seems pretty reasonable. Every 12 hours, we'll have a full backup of our home directory. So let's look at that statement. And this is where I mentioned that it's a little confusing. If we look at this right here, we can see that at minute 0, for any hour, stepping over 12 hours at a time is how the Linux way is interpreted to understand that it's every 12 hours. That's why crontab guru is recommended to just figure out the timings until you get somewhat comfortable with it. But truthfully, if you're not doing this all the time, you're not really going to retain this information. And that's why a tool like crontab guru is so helpful. So let's go in crontab tac E, get back inside the editor, and let's update the timing based on what we had inside of crontab guru. Perfect. Okay, every 12 hours, we should have a backup running now. So now let's verify that. Crontab tac L, list it, perfect. There it is, that's our entry. Awesome, so we actually have a fully fledged backup solution now. Every 12 hours, we're good to go. Now I'm actually gonna go and clear my cron tab. You don't need to keep this. This is just something for demonstration purposes. Feel free to set something up of your own. And I'm just gonna remove that whole directory as well too. But that's really it for cron tab. And you can see scheduled tasks in Linux is actually really easy. It's just that timing. Getting an understanding of how the formatting works, a little difficult, a little confusing, but if you know any of your Linux commands, then you just put the commands inside there and that will run at a desired time.